This is the Dog Psychology Podcast with Linn Boyke, Todd Langston, and Art Ortiz.
All right, this is the Dog Psychology Podcast with Todd, Linn, and Art. And today we're going to be talking about dogs fighting in the household. That's probably one of the most common things that we get when people have multiple dogs about fighting. All of a sudden they were hanging out and all of a sudden they're fighting. So I kind of want to talk about that. I think this will be really good, valuable information for some of the people to hear out there. Because again, this is something that we deal on a daily basis. Now, Linn, I know you were just here in Texas. You spent some time with the client out here. I didn't get to see you. Kind of disappointed, but I know you had to deal with the stuff out there. But tell us a little about that. What's going on with that household?
Well, before we talk about the dogs fighting, I think it might be great to talk about how to pick a trainer that works for you, like the first trainer. It doesn't matter how many trainers people say they've gone through. I would like to get people to have the one that works right out of the gate, that fits like a glove. And what happened with these people, which, by the way, no matter what I say, if I talk about their emotions or anything, I love these people. They are amazing. And the dogs, they were just sweet. The problem was just needed a structure. But the biggest issue is that when I got there, they told me about these trainers. A couple of trainers told them, no, you're not going to be able to, those breeds, you're never going to stop them from fighting. And when they asked me, I told them, hey, I can't guarantee you, once dogs start fighting
That's
in
always
the house.
My answer. It depends. There's a
Yeah,
lot of variables
really
that go on.
And they went with somebody who said, oh, we can fix that. And they supposedly...
Was that said over the phone?
Over the phone, and then I think they met him briefly. But their biggest thing is that they are certified dogs as not therapy dogs, but the full-on going
service dog?
Service dogs, full-on service. They supposedly train service dogs. So they went with them, and they had the dogs there for 3 weeks, and they sent them home. No work with the owners. And the owners, after a while, were like, we don't know what to do. And they told him, well, you were supposed to call us. And that, by the way, is BS. You're the dog trainer. You call and check on your work. And so they didn't hear him. And then the dogs got in another fight. So they went back for another 3 weeks. And the way they came back each time, underweight, frightened and matted, and just, probably never really got out of the crate much. And that I've seen that many times with trainers. And it really bothers me mainly because of the waste of time. Now, there is a big waste of money, but for me, the time. And these dogs, once I started working with them, they had such underlying issues that the fighting was the last thing I even cared about. And we took one dog that was a little shy about meeting me or anybody.
Is that the one you shared about the traffic? That was like,
so I wanted to go and do a little bonding with her so that I could do work with the 4 dogs. I can't have one dog that is barking at me nervous, so and trying to keep him from fighting. So we went into town while she was in shopping, and then I discovered the dog had an issue with traffic. And man, come to find out, these 2 dogs, the way they were introduced, I guess they found them as puppies on their property. But
they're also litter mates, right? They're litter mates?
They're litter mates, but that doesn't have an issue at all with these 2 dogs. And not even single. But it happened around a time where they just never really, the only time they were in the car was to go to the vet. And this is, again, I love these people, but this is one of those couples. Many people think, oh, well, I've got a large, 2.5 acres, the dogs will be fine. They're bred with, they were cattle dog and what's that?
Pyrenees.
They're Pyrenees. So they're guarding type. And so that's what they do at night, is they keep the property safe from the coyotes. And since they don't get any other outlets, that's all they do is bark or fence line. But they were all right to get the two Shibas and the 2 cattle. They both really had a lot of cattle dog in them. So then they were both I've never seen dogs from those breeds with the energy level, the physical energy level that was so low. So they're very fortunate that they didn't have higher drive dogs of the breed, because they would have been tearing each other apart. And so I had a lot of work to do. But I think what I'd like to ask, if Todd's, I don't know if he's still here or not.
Disappeared for a minute. I needed something behind my
Oh,
back.
okay. No worries. I think what I'd like to do before we talk about the fighting dogs is, what would be your top 3 or 5 things that you would suggest people dig into to be able to find the right trainer that will work for them? I mean, whether it's something people say in their taglines to look out for, or what would you suggest, either one of you, both of you, what would you suggest to be a deeper dig to make sure that they're the right trainer for you? Because anybody can say anything about themselves in the dog world and nobody checks it.
To me, it's what they do over the phone is the biggest starting point, is what they offer over the phone. I think I want somebody that's coming open-minded. They're not coming in with a tool in their hand. They're not coming in, they already know they're going to do 2 weeks of obedience or something like that. I don't want somebody to come in with any form of preconceived idea other than, let's go in and kind of take a look. And I also want somebody that would be open-minded enough to use every tool and see an e-collar and a treat as the same thing, right? So you don't have somebody going in that's selling a program before they meet you, before they meet the dogs, before they know any of that. That's what I would, one thing as far as that, to me, that offers an understanding of experience and credibility. I don't think a demo dog is a good idea. I look out for those because you're promising something it's like a window shopping. It's not the real product that you're going to get.
Abercrombie and Finch having those guys out there with shirts off and saying, yeah, you look like this in jeans.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
it never works.
I think I
Pretty
look
much
like
on the
that.
spot. So,
I'm talking about myself.
But what you're saying though is stuff I would understand, but people that just are regular house homes, they don't understand what tools are, or treats, or even approaches. So what you said, I understand. I don't
ask questions. I think having
what questions would you have them ask?
What tools do you use? Because that's gonna right now, that'll kind of tell you. It's not, if they just throw out a tool right away and they're talking one tool, that's weird. It's like, so I want to know where they're coming from, the approach, the mentality of the person, where they're coming from. If they start talking about purely this, all of that type of stuff, I think people need to stop the politics side of this. Like, I think the average owner doesn't know that there's literally like politics in dog training, where there's 2 sides, they're opposing sides in many ways. And it's simple things that make them oppose each other. But if you get somebody that says they're purely positive, they're not going to be able to fix an issue above a medium level. I mean, you
Especially
can't
4 dogs that are fighting.
4 dogs that are fighting. You can't use stays and place commands and shit like that to fix 4 dogs that are fighting. You
Or
need to
even
have
e-collars. You don't want to push that button when they fight.
right?
Jesus.
You have to. I wish there was more ways to get the people to ask the right questions to know, because I've met some people that were really good snake oil salesmen and really said the right thing. And I think that's the worst part now, is I hear a lot of trainers that are really slick with the words, but when you start watching them work, you can tell they don't understand the words.
Can you say that again, Todd? You broke up quite a bit. Can you say that again?
Yeah, I
You've
think
seen
there's
a lot of snake oil.
Yeah, people are slick with their words. Everybody's got they say the right thing. Oh, I'm going to come in and make you the pack leader, and you're going to, you know what I'm saying? And you get there and you see you're holding the leash up with their hands 2 up, and they're using a prong collar, and it's all sit, sit. And they're just glorified obedience trainers that use better words.
Yeah,
Art,
I totally agree. I think that people need to ask questions. I mean, even as basic as like, if they're going to do board and train, like, where's my dog going to sleep? Like, how often do you work them? How much socialization will they get? Like, just ask questions. There's nothing wrong with asking questions. If anybody gives you any pushback, it's because they're hiding something.
Correct.
I've had people come to my house. I'm like, when I used to do a lot of board and trains in my house, like, come on in, come to the house. I'll show you exactly where they're sleeping, And they're like, they're going to be in a crate with these dogs? Yes, they are. And I explain why, because I have all my own dogs and your dog. It's just for the safety. When I'm gone, they're going to be in a crate.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm leaving, how long will they be in a crate? Well, they will never be more than 4 hours in a crate. Now they're not, that's not even, now it's, now that Anne's, since Anne's been with us, she helps me get the dogs out, they're always getting out, so there's always something to be, there's always something to ask.
I was
There's
proud of
no,
my kennel. I made mine out of cedar.
I
Had
remember.
river rock on the top of it, dude. My kennels were pimp, and I was happy to bring people in and show them where their dogs were going to be sleeping.
Yeah.
I was like, here you go, man. Your dogs are in here. They got the treadmill room, the exercise room next door. We're out in the yard.
I think that if you ask, if they won't let you see, but they'll say, look, I'll walk through with a video. I just can't have you back there with the dogs because of an exact
insurance
reason.
purposes.
Insurance purposes, but I need to see it. Here's my phone and go record right now. I want to see what it looks like right now. And if they won't do that, I think that's a problem. I think that if you ask what the daily structure is like, I know you have a lot of dogs that you're working with. How does my dog or dogs, how do they fit into that structure? What's that going to look like? How many times do you feed? And absolutely, I want to see what they're sleeping in. And if they give you just the pictures that they set up for their selling, I wouldn't accept that. I need to see more. If you don't want me to come back there, then here's my phone. I've got it on record right now, and walk through and show me everything. That's going to tell you right away. Right away. I mean, you see how dirty it is. I want to see what it looks like inside their run and crate, like they haven't cleaned it out and they're just stacked with like fur that's stuck way back. If it's filthy, if it smells like piss when you walk into the place, that's a problem. Now you can smell an underlying coat of urine, but you can tell that they keep it clean. But the ones that you're just like, you can't even hold, oh my God, how can they even work in that? I would ask to see some video of what you do with the dogs that are behaviorally challenged. Show me your best and worst dog that you worked with. Nobody asks questions.
Yeah.
Ever. I mean, I could sign an application to 7-Eleven, and I'll have to put references, and they will call and check them. And all I'm doing is 7-Eleven. But nobody, I mean, people are literally copying other dog trainers' sites and words, and we get a lot of talking heads. What's that?
I had some dude plagiarize my Facebook. He plagiarized. I told you guys, I warned you guys about him. He plagiarized Jeff Gelman's biography or one of the other trainers' biographies. It was an English dude. He showed up. He told me he'd worked with dogs for like 30 years. And I handed him a leash, and it was like he fell over on himself. And I was like, what? Something's up with this guy. And then come to find out, all this stuff I was using, this was several years ago, that I was posting on Facebook, he posted it as his own. And he was plagiarizing a bunch of different trainers. So yeah.
I had a guy take pictures from my site of me walking packs of dogs, which people walking packs of dogs the way I do with no leashes and stuff. It's not common out in the wide open. He's got my body, my dogs, my everything, but he's got a quote that goes right over my face so you can't see the face. And there's a guy in what country was that from Caesar's Way? He's used School Dog Psychology is the name of his business sign, and he used the exact font from my site. I'm just like, what in the hell? So I would ask to see footage of what you do, how you do it.
You guys do much like consulting work for boarding and daycare places? Because I've been in several boarding facilities, and the majority of them are pretty cool, but some of them I was like, man, I wouldn't want my dog to be here. Like
exactly.
The one that impressed me the most was Nick's place up in Ohio.
Dog World.
Yeah, they've had so many dogs there, and he really had the staff there was a couple of things that stood out to me the most. One is there was just no barking. Like the lawnmowers and stuff would be going outside. They'd have like 60 dogs.
I think I saw a video of that. Yeah.
Nothing. But the one that impressed me more than that is that when they would open up a gate to like go get a mop or something like that, they had solid boundaries. The dogs wouldn't come out of the gates. I've never seen that
structure.
care in anywhere that I've been where those two things were there. And then when I walked in and he showed me these things, I'm like, well, what do you want? Like, what do you want me to do for you? Because everything that you would want, I ended up actually, I mean, you know what it's like whenever you get those situations, you always end up having to do the opposite of what got them there. Like, so if somebody was able to make that happen, I'm like, okay, well, how can we make it happen easier? Soften up, guys. You know what I mean? Let's soften up. Let's come back a little bit and do less.
I went to work with Tyler Muto, and I was doing the same thing. Why am I even here? But then I found simple things that he couldn't see when you're in it. When you're in it, you can't see all the stuff. And one of the biggest things that he said was the solid gold thing was he was having trouble with the dogs going home and having the fighting at the fence. And he says, I taught them, I showed them, I know they know how to do it. And I went and watched him. And it turns out, I'm like, hey, man, I think you need to give your clients or your employees permission to take their time because they're in a hurry to try and get the dog up to the client. And I think if you just tell every client that we're going to take extra time so that your dog has even better manners. And he's like, oh, and before the end of the day, he had his secretary or the assistant called every client or emailed every client and told them this. And every one of them were like, yes, please take your time. So as soon as they started taking their time, no more fights. Simple things like that. Like, I love going to places that are amazing that I have to struggle to find something. I was going to say something here about that.
Why don't we get back on track talking about dogs fighting in the house?
Yeah, because that's what you were there.
I don't think we finished the. I know, but the training.
Just ask questions. I think that's the main important.
I get that they need to know what questions to ask.
How many years you been doing this? How many dogs you keep at your house?
That's right.
Are your dogs in crates? Are your dogs in kennels? Can I meet your dogs?
Yes.
Can I meet could you have 4 dogs? Can you bring them all out? So I've been using, since I work out of the house, I've been using my dogs as examples in that, like, hey, let's go knock on the door. Well, let's see it. Let's see what it looks like. So I'm not just blowing smoke, that thing, like the post I did today, like my dogs literally can meet old people and kids, because if you see that, well, how did you get your dogs to do that? But I think asking questions. And then the other part is, if they're going to do board and trains, is I think the big thing to be clear on here is what you're getting back. What's the purpose? What's the point? Are we working on obedience? Is this a 4-week program to make sure obedience is solid? Is this 4 weeks where I'm socializing you every day out in social settings? Are we?
Yeah. What exactly are you looking for, and can they provide it?
Yes.
And if they can't, then that's fine. Find somebody else. I would also put an air tag or some sort of one of those things on your dog's collar when you put them in there, and you pay attention. If they aren't being walked, that's a massive problem.
Yeah.
I'm looking for safe things to help people find the right. And anybody who says, well, you're asking so many, they give you those favors, walk away. Find some trainer out of state that you can trust, and they'll know somebody in your state. I mean, that's how these people found me. I guess they went to Ian Grant. They contacted him first, and Ian said my name and your name, and said that you live there, real close by, Art. And of course, it wasn't that close. It's close enough, but it's not. It's pretty far.
Too far for me.
And the issue isn't something that you really like to deal with that much. And so, of course, that's how you find a really good thing, when you have trainers recommending another trainer.
It's not that I didn't feel comfortable doing it. It's one is too far.
I didn't mean any offense by it. I'm just going
to explain what that means is that for me, like, asking questions like, what is the support they get after? That's another important thing too, because if you just get, a 3-week board and train, what is the follow-up? What does that look like? It's a question like, hey, because, the follow-ups that we do, I still offer follow-ups. Any dog that has stayed with us or any type of training, we do like a long stay or like the immersion that we do, they still get follow-ups from me. They've already paid for it, right? But on top of that, they can also go to our socials that we have to ask me questions, to be there, to work on all the things that their dog is struggling with. You know what I mean? And so, that's
very detailed questions that to the point is what I hear you guys saying.
I would say find a dog trainer that builds a community, but not everyone does that. I'm not the only one, obviously, but I've built a community here in Dallas.
Yeah, you got a good one. I don't want to do that though.
Right, that not everyone does that, but that is an incentive for people to be with me. And by the way, I'm not for everybody either, just so you know. Like I know sometimes going into this that you've got dogs really, really bad anxiety, like where they're ripping sheetrock out. I know that can be a lot of work, right? I mean, you can go in there and say, oh, it's a lot of pent up energy, but sometimes it's not.
Right.
And so I know my limits and I'm like, you know what? I'm not the person for you.
But let me find somebody who is. That's something I think I put into everybody that I've ever worked with as far as trainers. I mean, that's how I found Caesar. I can't get you to where I wanted, where we agreed. Let me help you. I heard about somebody. Or in this case, if you're already doing it, you should be contacting trainers in your area and everywhere else and find out, because there's going to come a time when you aren't able or have time or just aren't qualified. And if you find somebody for them, they will still recommend you because you went out of your way to find them somebody to help them and their dog. That is, I guess, sort of community, right? Kind of working with other trainers. But just very specific questions, the detail about, most people are desperate. Leave the desperate in the car or on the table before you talk to them, and get real. This is a dog that's part of your life. And I think they didn't have AirTag type stuff when I had my facility, but man, I wish they would have. Every person would have been like, holy shit, my dog's walked more in 4 days than he ever did in a month with me,
Well, the concept of moving dogs through stations was really good for me to learn through the facility. And I've always embraced that you're basically moving through, however you want to say it, and this is when people ask me those questions. Well, your dog is being moved through a series of stations or classes, so events. There's going to be walks as a station, events, stations in the yard doing social time. There's a station where they'll be walking on a treadmill. There's a station where they're doing nothing. There's a station, and basically just let them understand that this rotation through this station are these different stations is my goal. And based on your dog's specific issues, there'll be different focuses in this rotation, but there's basic fundamentals of the exercise and so forth.
Did you change the word, Linn, from stations to events?
No, it's events, but those are events are any interaction you have with your dog. Whether if they can hear you or you can hear them, that's an event. Meaning it has to be structured. Even if they're in their crate and I'm watching TV, or if I'm on the phone and they start barking, they don't understand their transitional event. Speed limits and limitations and stuff. So you want to teach if you know exactly what your schedule is, this event, this event, this event, this event, where you are, preparatory stage, execution stage, or conclusion stage. You now know, and this is big for clients who are getting angry about their dog's behavior. Then you aren't in the walking event. You're in some past thing. If you're not right here, right now, and you know where you are exactly from the map that I give, then you aren't able to help. That's for clients and for students for that matter. But yes, stations are just locations that have something set up for an event. Like you're going to go on, you're going to do this event, whether it's social or psychological or whatever. But
your word. That's the way I see it.
That's the way you said it. Yeah, I didn't come up with station. It is a station, but I just wanted something different throughout the day, that they're doing. And if the dog gets bored, and listen, my rule number 9: when something's new and different, everything is new and different until there's a new normal established. And anybody who takes credit for being such a great trainer or whatever. Let me rephrase that. all it is, a board and train or rehabilitation, whatever you're doing, is a rule number 9. So the dog's going to do all the things that you establish, even if it's just stockpiling them in a crate until your 3 weeks is up and you take your money. That's new and different. But it needs to be transitioned into the home because they have a pattern, rule number 8, that they've already set in the home. If you're going to change that pattern and the dog succeeds, you need to transition it over there so they understand that you behave the same way you did at my facility in home. And everybody who these people that I see having success with a dog but then go home, I want to see the success a year later. You know what I mean? Show me that. Show me dogs a year later. That will prove to me that you've got what you're saying you have. But yeah, I love the idea of a fulfillment center instead of just a rehabilitation center and set up my stations. I would have fun again.
So why were the dogs fighting, Linn? The ones you went out to? Because you said it was an underlying issue.
Well, the underlying issues are each individual's way of being, the way their DNA. One of them is they're both very sensitive, the 2 cattle dogs, very sensitive. One was extremely sensitive, especially sound and things moving fast. And there just wasn't any, so that's socializing, getting them out and seeing things in their life that they wouldn't normally see unless you take them there. They're going to eventually have those things come up. And if it's a brand new thing, it could send them into a escape, a flee or a fight. And it could be worse if they don't have that. So socializing them, again, we can go into detail on what socializing and it isn't playing, but the structure, that's the thing that wasn't there. And most people don't understand a structure. They talk about it more like a schedule. Well, at 9 o'clock we do this, and at 10 o'clock okay, how is the structure of your 9 o'clock appointment? That's how does that begin, middle, and end? And so the dog can see that space in between the 2 songs, that smooth space on the album between this song's ending and this song's beginning. If they don't have that, you just put 15 songs together and play them at the same time, it's just noise. And so these dogs just had 2.5 acres to chase off prey or other predators. And when I look at their puppy videos or when they were younger and they first met, I can see that if they don't get something right now, they're going to fight, because how that play ended wasn't a play. But almost every single person videotapes their dogs doing something they think is cute and they post it. I look at it and I'm going, oh man, we're this close. So they only have a short period of time where no structure doesn't cause problems. So no structure is a puppy. They can run, play, do it, explore, all that stuff. But after a while, we have a territory here and it's got to be divided, and water's on my side, shit stick. Don't walk on my side. And eventually things happen. It was very fortunate. It was fortunate and bad. The owner, the mother, both of these people were amazing. I'm going to keep them in my life. They're just so cool and so hospitable and so nice. I can't say enough good things about them.
You're welcome.
But, yep. I haven't gotten there yet, but thank you. A lot of people, I'm a sensitive guy, believe it or not. And trauma for a lot of people, it vibrates through the rest of your days and life, week, whatever. It flavors it like salt on your French fries. And so the way she had described the fighting and everything was completely different than what I saw when I got there, because they had divided the yard, which is fantastic. They had that
option
to be able to do that option. But the dogs were laying next to each other at the fence. There was no fence fighting whatsoever. There was tension sometimes because one would be in a mood of this, I just got back from chasing, a fox around, or the other one just woke up. And so you got to manage that stuff. And if everybody's on the same page with a structure and you provide them with the direction of how it's going to go down, at what time, how intense, for how long, and who all's involved, the dogs will start to recede their authority position And Shiba Inus, they're hardcore. So are cattle dogs. So one of the Shibas didn't want to lose her authority position. It's less pay. People talk about you behind your back. You're made fun of. But me, once the resistance ends, the education begins. And I love seeing a dog like that say, no, I want to be, no, you know what? Fuck it. Let me follow you for a while. Let me see. Well, this is kind of cool, but don't tell the other dogs. When I'm around them, I'm going to give you a what for. So you have to be that way. And because of these underlying issues, especially for the two cattle dogs, uh, they missed out on a lot of the socialization. We had to drain that off. And same thing with the Shibas. But I think some of these trainers, they just go in and they work the dog and they suppress them and show you that they can do it instead of going out and draining the energy off of the dog and then providing clear information for that open mind. I don't want trainer or owners to punish their dogs all day long, but we've got 4 years to unwind. We got 4 years of time to catch up to, and it's not going to happen right away. So, but by the end of it, I had them all on tethers in the same year. That's a big, big thing just to get them in one location without a fence for the owner.
What's the point of, I think the one question anybody would have from what you're saying is, what is structure? What do you mean by this? So what would be the point of tethering the dogs? What does that do for the situation, for the owners?
Well, that was after the structure. That was more socializing there so that they could, a lot of the stuff I did was mainly for the owner's comfort so that they can see that this thing is possible. It was a big struggle just using my slip lead because she'd had it in her head that the harness, I can get a grip on that when they fight. I can get a grip on that, but I don't want them to fight. Yeah, but I can get a grip on that. I think what you're looking at is what they have done, and I want you to look at what we can do. And so just getting them on the slip lead, it's going to come off. It's going to come off. I swear to you, it's not going to come off. It's no way it's going to come off. And I've got this thing set up here so it can't even choke them. It'll stop, but they can't get off. I mean, it was a lot of things for the human. And so when I had them tethered out, it was my promise to them was at the end of the time, I was going to have them all in. We may be on tethers, but we're all going to be watching a movie. At this point, we watched a football game in the living room with all the dogs. That was my goal. And I showed them how they can start getting them used to being next to each other, tethered, but they can't like fully get to each other. So they can start opening their mind to this idea.
I want to go back to that actually.
Yeah, tell me.
I want to go back to that because the episode is about dogs that are fighting in the house, right? So they're already these dogs have already practiced fighting, and so this is the same thing that I like to do is, figure out what is triggering it. Usually, it could be pent up energy, right? So as a family collectively, and I mentioned this in previous episodes where I talk about like as a family we do things together. We're going to go places together. So that's why I say the walk is so valuable. Even if they get into a fight, because you can go in almost like we're going to drain off this energy, that intensity off, right?
Yeah.
And so if the dog has gotten into a fight and, my next thing is like, okay, how can we not leave that memory there? How can we not pick up where they left off? Linn, you always talk about they just hit pause on the DVR. They come back, they see next to each other, and they go after it again because they just pick up where they left off. So I really like what you talked about, why you tethered. And it's important to why we do that, okay? Because my quote that I love to say is use the leash to create what you want, right? Use the leash as little as possible, but as much as you need. And so for me, I'm using the leash to create what I want. I'm using it in a way as a muzzle, if you think about it, right? It's not a physical muzzle in the face. I'm using it to create what I want. So we go on a walk, we drain the energy, we all go together. Let's all go as a family and go together, drain the energy, come back so that the transition going into relax next to each other happens better because I want them to learn how to relax next to each other, not be intense next to each other. And that includes overplaying with excitement too, by the way. Right. So I'm trying to create what I want. And that's exactly, I assume that's what you did, Linn. So we tell the owners, like, what do you want? I want to watch a football game while the dogs are in here. Okay, let's do that. And they're like, well, how are you going to do that? we're going to get creative here. We're going to use the leashes. So this dog's going to be here. That dog's going to be, we're going to go on a walk. We're going to come back. You're going to lay there. You're going to lay there. You're going to lay there. You're going to hang out there, right? We're going to watch the game. And they naturally will settle. And that is how the imprint that we start to change how they're going to be inside the household. Because again, we're using the leash to create what we want.
That's right.
We all do the same thing. The approach is the exact same. I basically explain it to the owners as we've opened up an account and we're trying to deposit this calm time. A walk, you're making deposits. If we go in the yard and we can keep them on leashes and we can keep them calm, we're making deposits. And when you go inside, you tie them off and anchor them, we can make deposits, because really the owners are going to fuck it up. You're going to make a mistake. We're going to see it. You're not. And it's not your job to see it. And I think this is the other thing too, is prevention. Preventing the practice of a behavior is as important as, getting everything shifted in the other direction. And what you just said, Art, was cool about the pause button. I don't think the psychological processes are very mechanical at times. And that the way you walk away, we've been taught don't walk away afraid, but we haven't been taught don't walk away and fight. You know what I'm saying? We don't get the same emphasis on that. Like if you fight with your spouse and you walk away mad, you come back, it's easy to fight. After a few of them, dude, it's fucking instantaneous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as soon as they see them, it's on.
Yeah, people don't understand that mechanism of a stuck brain. So we're really trying to reverse that and prevent that and get you to be successful more than not. And what I think I also help people understand is it's difficult to let people get a grasp of something that's so simple to us. You need full control, guys. As you were saying, Linn, structure, structure means controlling every decision, so to speak. You have the intention of controlling everything that's going on, but that's not reality. So anchoring dogs makes it more realistic. It makes it easier. I mean, the reality is easier.
Well, I don't want people to think that that's what I'm looking for. Like I couldn't walk all four. They needed to learn how.
Sure.
I had to start over and over. They had to learn how 4 different dogs have 4 different ways of behaving, feeling, expressing things on a walk. And so they still had to learn how to walk each individual dog. We never walked all of them together, all 4 of them. There's no way that the humans could have handled that based off what they were always seeing. So I like to build confidence through accomplishments. And each time they walk these dogs and learn something new about how they can cooperate with the dog or the dog cooperate with them, however you want to look at it, they built more confidence. I would not have put them together, all the dogs, the way I did until the last day because of how they were living their life in their mind. And I had to continually repeat and start over because they've lived a certain way for a long time. And by the time I put them in the yard, they were all laying there, no one outwardly going after each other. These were huge things for the humans to see and then feel like, okay, we can do this. And all I do is help them understand that by the end of this, you're going to know everything you need to know to continue to grow this garden that you're developing. Not just that they're going to, especially when dogs are fighting, you can't, anybody who says, oh, I'll solve it right now, they're lying to you. Because unless they just got in their first fight, I mean, when you start separating them, it's
what number
usually a done deal.
The number of fights where it gets real iffy that you're going to turn it around?
Well, that depends on a lot of things. I've seen dogs fight a lot, but the owner, this 105-pound soaking wet was a 105-pound woman in New Mexico, had 3 really big, like Dane pit type dogs that would fight. But every time after they fought, she would get so angry that they would all lay down. So they never were separated after a fight. I just had to change her feeling about what she was doing. So that they did that for 9-10 years. Okay. That would have, I told her right out of the gate, I don't know, but once I found out that she never separated them, yep. I felt very comfortable. But as soon as you start separating them, that things are going to escalate fast from there, because then it will be quicker to every time they come out, they just start fighting right away.
Did
and
these
humans
dogs fight
see.
on site that you were just helping?
No, that's the great thing. Like I said, when I showed up and the dogs were on
Oh,
separate
that's right.
sides of
You
the
said
fence,
you're
but
on the separate sides of the fence. That's right.
they were laying next to each other.
Yeah.
That's different than how it was described. So
Right.
one of the foundational components of the pressure matrix is the perceivers involved. It doesn't matter if you get 10 humans, you get 10 different perceptions. And so everything that she told me was coming from her perception, her feelings, her emotions about her dogs hurting each other. And so, of course, it's bigger than it would normally be. So when I saw that, I'm like, okay, we can get somewhere really, really good. You may never walk or have them free completely, but we're going to change. She just didn't like having to separate them. I showed her you can have these tie outs because she does a lot of gardening. You can have tie outs in the very front yard so you can do your gardening. You have tie outs over by your greenhouse, and then I put these tie outs out in the back right where the table is. So you guys can sit in here and watch your dogs interact. This is why I want to back up to one thing real quick, and the structure is so critical. When I arrived, sweet dogs, but they were in your face. They were jumping when you're trying to eat. They're nudging your elbow, all of that. By day 3, I mean, we were putting 10 and 13,000 steps in, which is huge. And by the end of day 3, where are the dogs? They're not bothering us. They're chilling out, well, mainly because they were in a transitional event, but there was less barking, especially at night. They'd only bark when it was necessary. When they would go to the fence line, it wasn't something they were doing the whole night. Like the first night that was there, bark, 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 bark. So by giving a structure, people misunderstand that the structure is anything other than that's where you drain a lot of excess psychological energy by teaching them what it is that you expect from them, but first letting them expect and learn what they can expect from you on how we're going to behave from this point forward.
By the way, I like what you said there, by the way, because you said when you first arrived, they were sweet, they're all in your face. And so the dogs don't comprehend the smallest thing. And we expect them to comprehend the big things, which are the fights, right? If we can't stop them from the small, I always say, if you can't turn off the match, there's no way you're going to you can't turn off the explosion, right? Yeah. And so I have my own analogies too, Linn. You're not the only one, right?
Go for it, my friend.
But that's the truth. Like if you can't stop these little things, the boundaries where they're all up your face, you can't stop those things. You can't stop the small amounts of excitement. There's no way you're going to be able to stop the bigger things, the fighting, the crossing into the personal space of another dog. If you can't stop those little things, you have no business trying to stop the big things. Start with the small things first before you address the big things.
Well, in almost no case of aggression, and I mean, it'd be interesting to see. I mean, how many cases of aggression between the three of us we've worked. The way that I see it is you will never have a dog that practices a high fight that doesn't practice a low fight, right? You don't just practice high fight. It's learn it. So to your point, they were pushy a little bit. They're kind of low fight, low push. So what are you going to get after low push? Well, medium push. It's like a love language, right? And then what's after love? What's after medium? Well, then I've got high. And I don't think in any case where I've ever had, high or very high aggression, you never don't have whiny, pushy, scratchy, you can
see it way in advance if you're looking for it.
And even when you're talking about the puppy, I mean, the puppies are crystal balls. You can see the brains going one way or another more often than not. It's going up, and these things they help owners know what they need to get a hold of. And, that the structure part is the secret to this for the people that are curious. And everybody's going to experience this structure thing differently, but it's, decision making. There's one way to look at it.
I wish they wouldn't experience it differently.
No, but what I'm saying is it means something different to different people. That doesn't mean that they'll do different things, but some people are going to see structure as a meanness, I guess you could say, not understanding that in the absence of structure is going to be chaos. And in the presence of chaos, nobody wins. And nature needs structure, no matter what. There's bowing for respect. And the people nowadays think this is like dated and wrong culturally. So it passes over in here to the dog. So getting people to understand the concepts those are challenges in and of themselves. So what I'm saying is getting people to take your concept of structure is challenging. That's why I like executing things like the anchoring and getting people to know that this is something done in the right way is something for you that is a structured event that can help you move forward. You're preventing something from happening and doing this. And then we're going to go do this other structured event and this other structured event and this other structure. And then eventually we're going to start to remove the structure, but we're going to keep the behavior. We're going to remove the physical structure. We're going to remove the execution of the physical nature of it.
I love where you're going. I got it set. I got it fixed. So just real quick, everything is an event. That means a feeding event, a walking event, a social event, whatever. I've got 6 of them and they're covered. But here's the key. They're not an event until you've gone through the behavior expectation drill enough that they're smooth, and then they're an event. That would be kind of like you saying you remove the structure. But the idea is, if I'm going to take my dog to the vet, that's a health and wellness event. Before I do that, I've got to greet my dog, right? Then I've got to take my dog on a walking event, which is just to the car, which then I start my travel event, which has many unexpected, unwanted greeting events like birds, squirrels, bikes, people, right? Then I park, then I go on another walking event with lots of greeting events as I get up to the vet door, which then I start the preparatory stage to the health and wellness event, which could take a long time before I even get in to see the guy to start the event. And then guess what? I see more dogs, more greeting events. Then I pay, then a walking event, then travel event with greeting events, then walking event, then home. If you know what's going on, people have, my dog does this. But if you know that this event has this speed limit or intensity limit, that's all you focus on. If I have time for my dog to greet somebody, well, then I can put a pause in the walking event and greet. But if I have to teach them how to greet another perceiver, whether it's a bird, squirrel, or person, then I have to pick a priority. We're on the walking event. We're moving on. There's no reason to struggle and worry. You just make a little mark and say, I need to teach my dog how to greet. And even when your neighbors drive out of the driveway and give you a wave and you don't have a full-on that's a greeting event. That's what I want them to do with dogs and squirrels on the walk. Hey, there's a squirrel. Okay, great. So if you don't have time to teach them, then don't worry about it and focus on the walking event and Goldilocks that shit and move. So by doing the structure, it's more about the human understanding what is expected. When you try to have a transitional event, but the dogs want to play, well, this is a transitional event. It's like quiet time. No, we're not playing. You have to say no, and you have to disagree with it. If on the walking event, they want to greet, no, we're walking. Or you want to greet somebody, we're going to go over here and greet somebody. You know where you are. And until it's gone through the behavior expectation design drill, it's not an event yet. Once it's an event, then the dogs know it's a predictable pattern of balance. Of course, there's always times where something might come up and make things go up, but then you just say, hey, you pick your priority. What event are you focused? Like cooking or even feeding your dogs. If somebody rings the doorbell, you weren't expecting that. I can either ignore the door and continue feeding, or I stop my feeding. Even if I'm cooking my own food, you turn the stove off and pull it off of the hot thing and you go and answer the door. A priority. If the priority isn't the dogs, you reduce their freedom and go and focus on the priority. Then once that's done, you come back, pick up where you left off.
What was the first thing you said?
The very first thing I said? Or, oh, okay. Fuck nut. I'm just saying that it's so simple. It's the human's responsibility. If you're thinking about what they did 6 months ago or 6 years ago, you're not even in the event. You're not even here to even know what to do. If you can't handle where you are, fucking move. Move.
By the way, Linn, I always hear Linn in my ear saying that all the time. Move. It's so much. I hear it so much. Even my son says, I go, how does Linn do it? He goes, move.
Well, it's move, move, move.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 1, 2, follow through. But
Yeah. My
that's what I
son
mean
also
by
says,
structure. I'm not.
River also says, once you know, how can you not know? He always
That's
says that.
right. I'd love to have that on video and then put that in. That's rule number 7. But I don't want people to think it's a mean thing. I want you to understand what you're doing. Like if you go to a party, you're at a party. If you go to a movie, you're at a movie. If you go to the library.
Rabbit hole because I use the word people may interpret it as mean. No, what I'm saying is I think just everybody's got different perspectives of what our idea of a structured, let's just call it a structured day is. We do it so
It is.
seamlessly.
Yeah.
It makes so much sense to us to have the level of control we have. And trying to get people to understand that in layman's terms is a challenge because no matter what I know 100% is that the average human is not going to be structured enough. So trying to come up with ways to help them execute successfully, I think is ideal. Like, baby gates in your house, anchoring in different places. Like you were talking about, all these different tethers so that you're basically always maintaining that control that you need so that, as you were saying, these habits get built. And that's what I'm saying is that's our job, is to come up with those things for people to help them and whatever that may be.
A lot of it has to do with how they feel at the time that they're doing it. So
1,000%. I just had the best rehab ever. This last one, that little Yorkie.
Mighty Mouse.
The owners were so open, and the whole deal was amazing with some of the videos and the photos and stuff they've been sending me based on the issues that they had. It was life-changing for him because this dog wouldn't let him leave. I know that sounds like wouldn't let him leave the house. So for years, they didn't go places. They didn't go on vacations. They didn't do anything. And now they're sending me all this stuff from all these vacation places. The dog's with him here, the dog's crated here, and the dog's doing this here, and
that's
this.
awesome.
And
That's
so
rewarding.
it's very rewarding because I did an awesome one with another family prior to that didn't exactly embrace what was necessary, and it's different outcomes.
I
Do you
think
take that
people
personally?
are
Do you
so
take that personally,
concerned.
Todd?
What's that?
Do you take that personally?
No, I used to.
I used to too. I don't anymore.
I only take it personally because the dog suffers. That I take it. I don't care if they don't.
I hate that. I hate that. If the dog, I got to experience what it was like to be completely balanced and free of all the stuff that we had, been hired to do. And then it's got to go right back to it.
Here, you might remember this. To this day, I still use it. I don't like showing the dog the light at the end of the tunnel and then have the human blow it out. That's the worst thing. It's like, hey, you got adopted, kid. You're going to go someplace. And you get there and then they bring you right back. No, I don't want you.
Let me ask you guys this. Do you think, and I know the answer because I know dogs can't have any form of comparison. At least that's the belief I hold. Do you think if a dog stays with us for 4 to 6 weeks, when they go back, it's worse for the owner if it doesn't stick right? Because they're almost like, man, you're even more of a pussy than I thought when I left, type of thing. Do you think there's any element that we raise the bar to the point that it's actually harder for the owners to recapture or to have any of that?
The only way they can recapture what you created is if you do it in their environment. So the pattern you set is the pattern you get. I live this way at home. It's like, here's a better way. Kids behave one way in front of dad, they behave another way in front of mom, and they behave a third way in front of mom and dad.
That's what I'm saying.
But it is because, well, let me get to it. Because when you do what you do with the dogs, and the dog's life is brand new, a new way of being after the rule number 9, they go back home. Yeah, there's a brief period where they're going to echo what you did, but then they're going to see that there isn't any follow through from the human, so they just seep right back into the old pattern.
I know, dude. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what Art, chime in here, bro. You know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Well, what are you saying?
I think what he's saying is that the dog gets
This is much more existential than your chart, Lynn. That's the point. This is outside of the standard stuff, is what I'm saying. Just go ahead, Art.
I think what Todd is saying is that the dog understands that certain human beings can be more clear on what the expectation is, right? And then when they go home, there may not be that clarity that's there. And I understand what you're saying, Lynn, but I don't think that's what Todd is saying.
Yeah,
What he's
Well, you're asking if they could be human and say you're not. Let's show that by when you arrive, they come right to you and stay away from the owners. That would be the way. So they have admiration for you. But when you're not there, then you're not there. And so they don't have that ability to process, well, I'd rather be with Uncle Lynn, but they will do it if you show up. You know, they gravitate to you. But I get what you're asking. I don't see either one of you guys there.
Of what I would ever operate by or use to formulate a plan, because I don't believe they don't hold a memory outside of what's in front of them. They're pure, that their brain just doesn't work like that. I get that. So I just thought it was
no, I get what you're saying, and it would be kind of cool if they did do that and say, "Hey, look, you get paid money to learn new stuff. Why don't you just do it? Otherwise, I'm going to hit the road."
By the way,
might put some fire.
That's actually a really good point. Also, what you said, the pattern you set is a pattern you get. Where you set that pattern is what you're going to get too. So when you're saying,
well, that's
when you came to Texas, right? And your work, instead of doing a board and train, the dog goes away and then it comes back. The dog doesn't have a pattern. There's no pattern set in the household, especially with the owners, right? And so, that's why when they contacted me, they're like, "Can you do board and train?" I'm like, "I don't think a board and train will really help you guys. You've already spent so much money on a board and train. The dog needs to be worked with you and the dogs, and so we can go into the house, work with the dogs, and start plugging the owners where they live." And I think that's where it's going to be really. I got that idea, the immersion from both you guys personally, because you guys were doing that, and I was like, I'm going to start doing that as well. And so I started doing that. I love that, by the way. I get to get really close with the families. They get so involved in it. They get so, you're there with 15 days. I work with these clients, 2 hours a day with them, and we're going through all the different events that they can go through throughout the day. Let's go meet at a coffee shop. Let's go recreate that, all these things. You know what I mean? So like the dog gets practice with the owner handling them in the different environments. And then
that's great if you live in the area. You live in the areas for those. That's amazing. You can make it 15 days.
Especially the front door. The front door can be just blitzed so perfectly when you do it in the house, like any front door social.
Oh yeah,
you're having, you can.
That's where they get their associated memory. We did it right here. Yeah, so I learned it right here. Yeah. But no, I love your thing, Art, where you get to take them to the cafes. With my thing, it's 5 days, and I don't like to do it so long, but we did like 10, 12-hour days, just like you did in your course, Todd. I mean, we spent a lot. They had 4 dogs. So it was really challenging. But yeah, doing it in the home, because the majority of the thing is getting the human to understand their actual role and what they got to do. And to answer your question the other way, yes. You remember Tuffy Tuffers, the Tank Tough Tuffington? Maybe you don't. I used to say, and she would do that. You know what? I'll do what you say if you do it the way my dad taught you. Otherwise, I'm going to Tuffy Tuffers, the Tank Tough Tuffington out of you. And that was always people's graduation or their last final exam. And they'd always come back crying because she wouldn't do anything anybody said unless they did it exactly the way I showed them. And so,
the worst in TCW was getting Junior off stage from Caesar. Try to get fucking Junior to walk away, unless he only follows fucking Caesar. That dog's not stepping off stage for no one.
Well, that's a different type of dog, and Caesar's really smart that way. He knows he's not daddy, so he finds something that he can utilize with Junior, and like the ball.
Yeah,
the ball. You give Junior ball.
Also, another thing with Caesar is we had to feed Holly a certain way.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Judge Lochner, 4:15, or 4:30.
Yep. And I remember asking Caesar about that. Like, he's like, you have to feed her a certain way. There's a certain specific way that you have to feed her, because if not, she would bite you. And that was the other thing, like, that was kind of eye-opening for me, is like how Caesar had to figure that out, because remember in the show, that's the dog that bit him, gave him his worst bite.
I can tell you about that too, but go ahead. I apologize.
But, he would always say like, you have to feed her a certain way. And so I remember like at TCW, I mean, if we had to make sure, like if I was going to be around Holly, nobody had food on them. Nobody.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had her she was in the dog park, and the students would go in, and we'd be like, "Hey, man, you guys don't got any food on you?" No, we're good.
Well, see right there, that's exactly my structure. She had whether it was a wire crossed or whatever, she had to be fed it exactly the same way. Judge Wapner at 4:30, Rain Man. I just extend that without the Rain Man and make it an event. Every event is exactly the same, no matter where it is. If I feed you here, or I feed you at a cabin on a vacation, or if I feed you at a grandma's house on Thanksgiving, it's the same fucking way. And that assures a balance. It makes the dog feel safe. And not every dog has Holly's issue, but that's exactly an event. That feeding event is designed specific for her. And that's all my events are designed for the family. But if you mind me taking a little detour, I think this is my pattern suggests. Remember when Caesar said, I wasn't expecting that when he got bit by her? Well, I was, because I'd seen it so many times in all the other episodes, because Caesar back in the day was doing what he does, like with a tennis racket. What's that?
You cut out for a while. Start all over again.
Oh, man.
Start over.
So I knew that was going to happen when I saw it, because I saw, I worked with Caesar, but I saw all his episodes where he used like the tennis racket, right? But people don't see what Caesar was using the tennis racket for, was just a block. So people go in and they start jamming it at the dog, and the dog grabs it and bites it. In that episode, they show what the parents were doing before Caesar arrived, and they had like a rake or a broom or something, and they were doing that with the dog while it was tethered and it was going after the things. So now that's the new pattern. This is how we feed. So anytime they taught that dog to bite people worse, because they were jabbing at it. And for me, I was like, it makes total sense. But for Caesar, he doesn't watch that stuff. What's that?
He did. If you watch it, one of the other things too is he touched the dog, and then he telegraphed the next move and got whacked. So he touched the dog one time, and then he moves like this. I got fucking bit in an identical way, just a much less. But I mean, it ripped the hole in my arm. Now, you could see that in the thing too. I didn't watch the part with the rake part.
It's on the very part of the episode, like they do every episode. They show what's happening at home, and that's what the dog is looking for. Every move Caesar makes, or the dog every move you make, because the owners taught it that I'm going to do this and this and this. So it's studying everything. And once you move one way, well, fuck it, I ain't waiting for that rake or broom. I'll grab your hand. So they taught him that. And back then, I don't think Caesar was ever watching. He likes it just going in fresh and going with what the dog provides. But that skill was underneath due to the owners, based on watching his old episodes with a tennis racket. And by the way, Caesar was never trying to punch or hit or do anything. He's just blocking. If you look at the electricians or City Electric, they carry a pole, and on the end of that pole's got a tennis ball. I don't know if somebody taught them this or whatever, but I always see a tennis ball on it. Dog's going to bite whatever's in front of them first. But we're not trying to agitate the dog. But the human average owner doesn't see that, and so they start to agitate the dog. But anyway, that's my point of view. Yeah, no, it's a good point of view, though. I mean, but yeah, so everything you teach a dog, they file it. It's that associative learning. What did I get from this whole thing you just did with me? When you're teaching a dog owner how to work with a dog and they're hesitant a lot, you're playing poker you're learning poker with your cards faced out, and you don't have anything. You say, I'm going all in. And the dog says, I already know this one. Because you really want to learn on a different dog and then show up with the skills to your dog. But that's why we did four different dog walking. I want you to learn everything each dog that they had, how they behave. One dog just would shut down he was a fat boy Slim is what I call him. And he just shut down. I don't have any energy. That was the other thing. They were so fat because no exercise. And they got him on a diet. The feeding events are great. Things are going well. And they had, right after I left, Thanksgiving family shows up, and they had a big family, and one of them had a dog. And without my structure, it would have been a nightmare. And they sailed through it. Something they thought was going to be a nightmare was simple. This is what we're doing, and this is how we're doing it. I love people that want to do the work. And
I agree.
I
It's
agree.
it's a big difference, especially at this point in our career.
right? I don't want to work with anybody that doesn't want to do the work.
All right, guys.
I don't need
Yep.
them. Is
All right,
that
guys,
it?
it was a good episode. We'll end it there. We already at an hour. Anyways, this is the Dog Psychology Podcast with Linn, Todd, and Art. We'll
Yep.
see you guys next episode. By the way, we don't have Adam today. Adam is on a holiday vacation, so hopefully he'll be here next time. So
And keep us in line.
yeah, this was tough to keep you in line. Good grief.
Right? Keep you in line. Couldn't get the echo out. What's going on over there, producer?
Awesome, guys.